What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Aftersound here, bringing you Splinterlands content every single day. We also stream every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday mornings right here. So come by and say hello. That's going to be U.S. time. All right, so I wanted to do a May update for the DEC APR and where that currently stands from the SPS airdrop perspective. And so my usual example for this is I throw $100 in, divide that by the price of DEC, which is 0.00152, and that gets us roughly 65,800 airdrop points at this point in time. So I already have this kind of built in here, and I'm using Splinter Cards, so shout out to Splinter Cards for this awesome tool. Now what this is going to get you is 4.8 SPS per day. So 4.8 times the current value or price of SPS, which is 0.115, gets you roughly 55 cents in value every single day. So that this is going to be your daily percentage rate when we divide up our initial investment. And if we multiply this by 365, that gets us about 200%. Now this is down from last month. I believe last month we were at about 211, 212%. So with potentially more cards being open, with more reward cards hitting the market, the overall denominator, right? So the overall amount of airdrop points that this is all being divided by has increased slightly. Now you look at this and this is still fantastic from, an ROI perspective, 200%. You're not really going to get that many other places. The thing that I wanted to focus on though was where we are at from a standpoint for the rest of the airdrop. Now we know there's only 85 days remaining in this airdrop, so this doesn't go for a full year. So looking at the APR is helpful, but this doesn't give you the full picture because this isn't going to be 365 days. Instead, they have a nice little box down here that tells you what the value of the 410 SPS you would get by the end of the airdrop would be if everything were to stay the same, right? So we're going to assume that the airdrop points don't increase too much. We're going to assume that the share that you have is going to stay relatively the same, right? Even though that's just not going to be true, but we're going to make those assumptions. And then, of course, if SPS remains at this value, 0.115. So with that being said, $47 on a $100 investment means that in this point in time, you are going to get roughly a 47% ROI over the next just under 3 months. There's still a lot of value in that, and I want to show you what I mean. So again, there's risk here. There's still significant risk in my opinion. DEC could still go down by 33%, right, to go down to its peg of $1 per thousand or 0.001. So I guess what I'm trying to say here is you take the $100 investment that you have, you divide this by 2/3, right, or multiply it by 2/3. To get where we would be from a capital loss standpoint. So if I multiply it by 0.667, that means we get down to $66.07 in value, right? That will be the value of what your DEC is expected to be if we go down to the peg. Keep in mind, it could go below the peg, but there is some wiggle room here because then if we add what you were expected to gain in terms of value over that time, the $47 here from the airdrop, you're sitting at about $113. So including the capital loss that you will receive, this is still a 13% ROI in a relatively short amount of time, right? I mean, if you extrapolate this out for a year, this is 60% roughly, APR, real return APR. So there's a lot of different ways you can cut this cookie. I don't know what the term is. There's a lot of different ways you can look at this. But to me, at this point in time, you're still coming out ahead with the amount of time remaining. The only unknowns, right? The only unknowns are one, the value of DEC, two, the value of SPS, and three, the value or the total amount of airdrop points. Those three fluctuating change these numbers greatly, right? Because what ultimately will end up happening is we do expect DEC to get back down to its peg. We do expect the airdrop points to continue increasing, but I would say there's also a strong argument that over this time, and once SPS becomes diluted at a much slower pace after the airdrop, we also expect SPS to increase in value. So some of these could be offsetting, which is why I'm kind of okay making, very, very broad assumptions and getting us to this 13% ROI in terms, real terms rather than what we're looking at from a macro perspective. So this is all I wanted to share with you. At the end of the day, none of this is financial advice. I'm just crunching the numbers and wanting you to take a look at what we are seeing, what we could potentially see between now and the end of the airdrop. Again, there's still so much that can change. But to me, at this point in time, I still feel like this is a relatively solid place to park your cash if you're willing to. The other flip side of this too, and it's much more difficult to quantify, and that's why I don't include it in these calculations, but if you were to throw this into the DEC SPS liquidity pools, or even the Hive liquidity pools if you wanted to, as DEC decreases in value, you would end up with actually more Hive. So you can mitigate your losses even more at that point in time. And I think that's what has made the liquidity pools so much more valuable. But for the purposes of this video, if you were just to hold DEC and you wanted that flexibility and you wanted to know how much DEC you would have at the end of the airdrop, right? Then this is where you enter in. Liquidity pool will probably be better for you. I'll be honest. But again, it's just hard to quantify because there's so many dynamic moving factors within the liquidity pool, and then you add that on top of all the dynamic moving factors within the rest of the calculations that I just put in. So I look at this and I still say, well, holding DEC or buying, it's not even holding DEC, buying into DEC at this point in time isn't a terrible idea given what we expect with capital loss, given what we expect in potential price increases for SPS. And yeah, so and with slow pack sales, it's really just the rewards cards that are coming out that are offering or that are increasing the airdrop points here. So I don't know that will increase too much over the next couple of months. Keep in mind, ranked rewards does come out potentially at the end of May. If not the end of May, probably sometime in June, which could give a weird last month and a half of airdrop points coming in if more reward cards are being printed at that point in time. So just something to keep in mind, because more reward cards being printed means there's more airdrop points total, which decreases the value of each of the airdrop points you have received from DEC. So I'll continue monitoring this unless there's some major update between now and the end of the month, May 2022. I'll probably be back early June and then do one final one in July to see where we shake out in terms of overall APR for this. But hopefully this is helpful or at least entertaining. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I will catch you all in the next video, and I will see you around the game. Take care.